From ticking off lists to buying everything in the Steam sale, here are 5 things you just can't stop doing in games and exactly why you do them. Let's face it, as players of video games, we are creatures of habit. We have set routines that we enjoy following every day. A trip to Destiny's Tower here, a dip into Fortnite for 6 hours there. And chances are, when the sequel to our favourite games come out, we'll pick it up and do even more of the same wonderful things. I've done a lot of videos about the excellent psychological effects that games can have on us, but it's also important to look at the kind of behaviours that games elicit and take a look at the reasons why. I've even got some tips on improving your life using the same techniques. So, from memorising your quest log to shooting everything in sight, here are 5 things you just can't stop doing in games and exactly why you do them. So first off, it's time to address the fact that you can't stop picking things up and ticking things off. Maybe this is more of a therapy session for me, but I think we'll all benefit from knowing a little more about why we just love collecting items and checking off lists in video games. Well, it turns out that wanting that complete armour set in Assassin's Creed Odyssey translates perfectly into our real-life decisions as well as our pixelated ones. This article, funnily enough called People Have an Irrational Need to Complete Sets of Things, discusses the fact that as human beings, we absolutely love getting through to-do lists in their entirety. Lead author of a psychology paper called Pseudo-Set Framing, Kate Barras talks about the fact that we don't like to leave anything incomplete, whether that's filling all the slots in a box meant for 6 beers in real life, or in games as we tick off all the bandit camps in Far Cry. The term pseudo-set in itself means that these collections of things are an arbitrary concept, or things manufactured for the sole purpose of creating the idea of wholeness. This is definitely the case any time we see a map spilling with endless tasks, or upgrade trees with sprawling branches that we just want to fill. Incredibly, research has even proven that we'll even donate more money to charity if we feel like we're completing a set. Yep, even if it costs more to do so, we're still obsessed with crossing all the T's and dotting the I's. In a real-world study, researchers teamed up with the Canadian Red Cross to see if pseudo-framing could help increase donations. 7,000 potential donors were directed randomly and equally to one of 3 landing pages. One was focused on cash donations, another with gifts and geographical markers, and a final one used an image of a globe with a line making its way around the world. In the latter option, the Red Cross invited people to donate to a complete global survival kit with 6 different gifts, which would mean that the line would be completely filled. Incredibly, this small change meant that 21% of those directed to the globe page donated all 6 items, compared to 5% on the gift page and only 3% on the cash-focused page. So, if you've ever wondered why you just can't stop playing until you've got every trophy or achievement, chances are that you'd even pay for the privilege thanks to the human desire to just keep completing sets eternally. And just saying, but this is section 1 of 5, and you will get a ping at the end for completion. I promise. So, we now know that we can't stop completing arbitrary lists, but perhaps you're somehow immune to ticking everything off. Maybe you can happily leave a game where you've collected everything except from one chest and you'll just be happy never to return. You monster. But here's something even you can't stop doing: treating games like toys. Let's be honest, the first thing you ever did in a game was try and break it, and we haven't ever really stopped. We try and run in directions we can't actually go, shoot lights to see if the bulbs smash, or, well, not, check to see if you can turn on taps or showers, and there's even a whole Twitter account dedicated to asking whether or not you can pet the dog. Thankfully now, the answer is mostly yes.
It's all gone to the dogs, buddy.
And cats. And pigs. And bears. Watch out, the lick. But why is it that we want to see if mirrors reflect, if curtains flap in the wind, or if we can scritch our favourite pixelated critters under the chin? Well, we like testing boundaries, and video games are the perfect place to do that. They are universes of set rules that we'd really just like to break to see what happens. And no, it doesn't make you evil if all you want to do is murder your Sims, which, funnily enough, I've made a whole video about. Check the link on screen right now. While it's a good place to experiment with boundaries in a safe space, it's also important that games deliver us some form of realism. Like all media, games need to build worlds, but they are very different from movies and TV, where all the director needs to do there is make sure that we can see what they want us to see. Except that coffee cup in Westeros, Game of Thrones? When it comes to games, we need to be able to explore everything, find new areas that no one has ever seen before, and hope that the realism holds. Being able to do what we do in real life then is key. While there are set rules that we know that games follow, no entering doors with boards over them and always go in the direction of light, it's just as important to be able to break the rules. And if a game can let you do exactly what you want to do instead of just what you're meant to do, we'll have a more immersive experience, even if that just means drawing happy faces wherever you go. Let's face it, we all have FOMO to some degree. Fear of missing out is a genuine fear in everyday life. Who is socialising without you? Did you miss that Steam sale item? Did you really order the tastiest thing on the menu? You name it, if your brain can worry about it, you'll think you've missed out. As human beings, we have a natural aversion to loss, hence why FOMO is such a real issue. As discussed in this HuffPost article on the warped psychology of FOMO, research has proven that losses are twice as psychologically impactful as gains. So when we discover that we've missed out, it's not as easy to cope with. When it comes to games then, suddenly our behaviour makes a lot more sense. This is why, despite having a main quest unlocked, you'll always head everywhere else on the map, just in case those opportunities are no longer possible once you continue the campaign. FOMO is basically the reason that despite knowing which way to go, you'll always run in the other direction to make sure that you've seen everything that a game has to offer. Combo this up with our need to complete sets, and suddenly it's very clear that games have us wrapped around their digital little fingers. Oh, and go on, you may as well check that last door just to make sure it's locked. This also perfectly explains any anxiety you have around decisions in games.
Look at these, they're amazing! Which one do you like more, this one or this?
Whether it's a Telltale game or a dialogue choice in your favourite RPG, making split-second decisions could affect the rest of your game. You aren't alone in wanting to create endless saves just to make sure you don't miss out on anything. But what's the cure? Well, being aware of the fear is the first step, and it's all about the way we think about our potential options. Sure, you might have missed out on an alternate storyline this time around, but if you really want it, you can do it again after this one. No one is stopping you. Recognise your fears of missing out, and you might just shed them. Sometimes it feels like Steam is forcing us to buy games, like Gaben is stood behind us, chuckling, quietly sharpening his knives, suggesting that yes, we should take the plunge and buy every Star Wars game ever made. Who cares if we only really wanted Jedi Academy? But here's the thing, it's not Steam that's at fault here, it's your brain. To find out exactly why, we have to return to our old friend Jamie Madigan on the psychology of games. He highlights 3 things that encourage our brains to take these deals. First up is scarcity, or the idea that these deals are limited. It's not like a shop where you can see signs saying closing down, everything must go, but Steam limits deals with time. The clock is ticking, it's now or never to get every Tomb Raider game ever made with 95% off. Quick! The second psychological factor that encourages us to spend some more is obscuring the true value. What this basically means is that despite the fact that there are glowing pound or dollar signs telling you exactly how much glorious money you're saving, we can't actually see the true value of having all of these games. Madigan says that our brains are so tied up with how much money we're saving that our grey matter just doesn't have enough mental capacity to think about how much time is necessary to play the games, or, let's face it, whether we actually want them. And finally, the third reason that your Steam library is full of these complete sets, seeing a pattern here? It's because of a concept called anchoring. The anchor here is the monetary value that these games are apparently officially worth. So, if you bought all of these games separately, you'd pay hundreds of dollars, but the delights of a bundle deal means that you're paying a fraction of that. You become obsessed with the anchor price of them all together, which lessens the hurt of whatever the sale price is because it's less. Try and disentangle your brain from what the Steam sales want you to think then, and it's easier to ask yourself whether you do actually need all of these things. We'd probably suggest just unplugging your mouse, but this is a new G502 Lightspeed and it's wireless, so it's kind of all down to you. And Finally, how is it then that when someone asks you what you did last night, you feel like you need to check your phone? But if they asked you what you still need to do in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can reel every quest off like clockwork. No, it's not just because you're obsessed like me, it's because of the Zeigarnik effect. Once again, succinctly explained by Jamie Madigan, the Zeigarnik effect is the human brain's ability to remember complex series of tasks. Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik coined this term after noticing that in a restaurant that busy waiters could only remember orders that were in process, but once they were done, they would automatically forget. With further research, Zeigarnik discovered that we're always more likely to remember tasks that we haven't finished yet than those we've squared away in our mentally completed pile. This makes perfect sense when it comes to games, as we remember every craftable item we still need to find or which quests we still need to tick off. They're still in active mode in our brains, and we can't stop thinking about them until they're done. Taking this idea a little further, the Zeigarnik effect can actually affect our day-to-day real lives in a positive way. This independent article, How to Stop Procrastinating Using the Zeigarnik Effect, discusses the fact that if we address that we like things to be complete, where we start and most importantly finish tasks, we can be healthier mentally. CBT psychologist Hadassah Lipsick says that incomplete tasks and procrastinating often lead to frequent and unhelpful thought patterns. When used personally or in a therapeutic setting such as cognitive behaviour therapy, the Zeigarnik effect can promote mental well-being by motivating someone to complete tasks, develop healthier habits, set goals, and resolve issues that are being postponed. So, treat life like you do your quest list, and you might be helping your mental health as well as earning some precious XP. So that's 5 things we just can't stop doing in games and exactly why we do them. Let us know what you can't stop yourself doing in games in the comments below. Drop us a like if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Logitech G for more features just like this one. If you do already subscribe, which we really appreciate, remember to hit that notification bell so that you know when our next video lands.